overgiving is probably one of the single biggest mistakes as a man or a woman. I'm speaking from the male perspective. Overgiving is probably one of the single biggest mistakes that you can make in your life, and it's usually a consistent mistake that we keep making. When we become loyal to a fault, to beliefs about our responsibilities and our roles in society as men, particularly in relationships with family and society at large, but specifically in relationships, if we overgive, what happens is we become taken for granted because we're not valuing ourselves enough. And if you don't value yourself enough, you tend to overgive, because if you value yourself, what you do give you value very highly. But if you're always giving, that means you're not valuing what you have to offer very much, and people are going to reflect that back to you, especially in relationships. You're going to attract people who are going to gladly take advantage of your diminished self-worth, your overgiving, because they're benefiting from your overgiving. And as soon as you tire of the overgiving and you want to bring relationships into more balance and reciprocity, then you're ashamed for that, because you are threatening their supply that you have been so willingly and loyally giving. Now, as men, as healthy masculine men, we express love in many ways, and one of the main ways that we love to express love is by providing, by giving, by just being the provider. And that's not because we're out to get something. It's because we genuinely want, out of love, to give, to provide, to give security and protection to those that we love, particularly our feminines and our children. But if we're overgiving, we're overextending ourselves, that becomes the norm, and that's unsustainable, and that will create resentment over time. And then as soon as you start to realize that you're overgiving and you want to communicate that with your partner, it usually leads to conflict. In my experience, if you have been overgiving in relationship, there's a few dynamics going on there. People pick up overgivers pretty quickly because they see their value, they see that they are an abundant source, an abundant supply, and that becomes the most attractive thing in you to them. And in my experience, it's not out of love that they stay with you, but it's out of what you provide. That supersedes everything. That is their main objective. Because quite often, and in my experience, pretty much always, when you realize what's happening, when you start to become more aware of your own patterns in relationships, your own motivation, you realize that you're overgiving because you're lacking self-worth. And when you lack self-worth, you attract people who will cash in on the low stocks. So basically, think of yourself as stocks which you have valued lowly. Someone comes along and sees that these stocks are really low and they're cashing in because they know that they're worth far more than what you have valued them as. So basically they know, they can see your value because you're reliable, you are loyal, you are empathetic, loving, giving, and they want a piece of that. They see that you're willing to give above and beyond, so they will cash in on that. with minimal investment on their side. But as soon as you realize that actually my stocks are worth more than what I've been valuing them at, then, well, they don't like that, because now they're going to have to invest more to maintain those stocks. So when you change, when you see your true value, or you value yourself that little bit more, and you start standing up for yourself, and you stop over giving, or at least play around with the idea that you want to stop over giving, that's when they become really threatened, because their supply is at threat of being cut off or diminished at the least. So there, now you have to face the reality that they were in a relationship with you, or whatever the situation, the agreement is with you and the other individual, because they were benefiting from your low self-worth, not because they admired you, although they probably secretly do, because they know that you have a lot more to provide than what they're willing to provide in a relationship. So that automatically says that they value you more than they value themselves, but they want you to be unaware of your own value, so in order that they keep benefiting from what you have to offer, especially when you're offering it at such a low rate, because you're an overgiver, which means you give freely. It's a bit naive. I've been there, and it's a difficult one to get out of. And it's very difficult to accept that the people that you're in relationships with, whilst you're in that energy, are in a relationship with you because they're benefiting from your lack of self-awareness and lack of self-worth. So if you're an overgiver, you attract takers. You attract people that are only going to invest the bare minimum to maintain their position in that relationship, in that trade. It's not love, it's conditional. And they're only staying around because they're getting something from you with minimal return or minimal maintenance. Now back to men. Traditionally, men are providers. They, in not all cases, but in most cases, but modern society has changed that a bit, but generally speaking, the masculines, the men, lead, and the females are they follow the masculine lead. They nurture, they support the masculine so that he can be a loving and confident provider that provides safety, security, and love and affection to his feminine, and she returns that with respect, love, admiration, and a nurturing. So they're supposed to be a team. They're supposed to be there for each other. But as a man who is overgiving, who has no boundaries, or is not very confident in setting boundaries, is not going to be respected by a feminine or female. But if he's still providing all her needs, and maybe she doesn't feel like that she can provide them herself, then she's probably going to stay with that man, but she's not going to respect him. Now if he starts to set boundaries, he starts to be more confident, she's not going to be particularly okay with that, because if she has been just taking advantage of his overgiving, and he suddenly realizes, or he has to face the reality that that's what he's been doing, and he's been allowing her to control him. Now this can go the other way around too. So I'm not a woman hater, because it happens the other way around too. But I'm just speaking from my own experience as a man, because that's what I am. If you're not a confident man, if you don't hold your boundaries, you don't have self-worth, you are going to attract a certain kind of women who are going to take advantage of your weakness. Now, if you are a confident, strong man who has healthy boundaries and you uphold them, and you communicate respectfully in relationships, you will attract confident, strong, fair, loving, loyal women. Because like attracts like. So opposites always attract. So if you are a man that doesn't have much confidence, you don't feel secure in holding your boundaries, especially around women, then you are going to attract women who are going to see that, because they have the sixth sense for that. And if they sense that you are weak, because they're not looking for a strong man, because they can't deal with a healthy man's boundaries, because they don't have boundaries, they don't like boundaries, they think boundaries are controlling, so they want a weak man who they can push his buttons and basically mold him to their will. So, reality check. If you are an overgiver in relationships as a man, I can pretty much guarantee that those are the kind of women that you have been attracting. So when you start to change up, when you start to take accountability for yourself and you become aware that you need more healthy, stronger, firmer boundaries, that you need to value yourself more, you need to value your stocks higher, that's going to ruffle feathers. That's going to step on some feet. It's just part of life. The point is, a lot of people who have been advantaging from you and your old self now are being exposed, and they don't like that. So a lot of people that you thought they had your back, you'll find out that they don't. You'll find out that they're going to try and stab you in the back. They're going to do everything to bring you back to the old version of yourself that didn't have self-worth, self-value, didn't have healthy boundaries. They'll try to shame you. They'll try everything in their arsenal to make you out to be the bad one. And when you don't bite, they'll switch up to being nice. And because they don't care about you. They just care about what they are about to lose, because you are becoming more powerful within yourself. They will do everything to shame you. They will say everything. They will try and make you out to be the bad one. They'll try and make you out to be the one that was using them. But you know that you gave from love. Maybe some of your giving was a little bit unwarranted because there was no real reciprocity. But when you take control, take charge of your life, and you love yourself, and you hold self-respect and dignity, then those people will eventually fall away from your life, one way or another. Whether you tell them to go, or they just get tired of trying to manipulate you and go on to the next person, because you're now too strong, too aware. So they'll give up. Eventually they just give up. But you and your new energy, you have self-worth, self-value, will attract people that will match that energy for you. Now you understand that you have control now. You have the power. It was always in your power the whole time. When you value yourself higher, people are attracted to you, and they will respect you where you value yourself. And the only reason that people didn't respect you in the past is because you didn't respect yourself. It's really that simple. This is a reality check for a lot of you guys out there. And this goes for you women as well, because it goes both ways. If you don't have self-respect, if you don't hold healthy boundaries, you won't be respected. It's really that simple. You won't be appreciated. You can give and give and give and give, and people will just happily take and take and take. And as soon as you stop giving, They say you were the one that was using them.